So Apple just dropped its latest powerhouses, the M5 Pro and the M5 Max chips. And hey, if you're staring at the spec sheets and feeling kind of lost in all that technical jargon, you are definitely not alone. It's a really common feeling because on the surface, these names sound so similar. You've got Pro and you've got Max. I mean, both of them just scream top-tier performance, right? But, and this is a big but, hidden underneath those simple names are some huge differences that could totally change your experience, your workflow, and even how much money you end up spending. So in this deep dive, we're going to crack that code. We're going to go way beyond the marketing buzzwords to figure out what truly separates these two incredible pieces of tech. I mean, they sound almost the same, don't they? M5 Pro, M5 Max. It's really easy to think the Max is just a slightly souped-up version of the Pro, but the truth? It's a lot more complicated than that. So the big question we're tackling today is this. Beyond all the fancy marketing and confusing numbers, what is the real, actual, tangible difference between them? Let me put it another way. What do you actually get for all that extra cash you'd have to shell out for the Max? We're going to break down not just what they are, but who they're for. By the end of this, you'll have a super clear way to decide which one of these processors is the right one for your specific needs. And let's be crystal clear about this. If you're confused, that's totally understandable. It is not your fault. Apple has designed two incredibly powerful professional-grade chips, but picking between them can feel like solving a riddle. You know, they've given us all this amazing power, but they haven't exactly handed us a clear map on how to choose. And that is precisely why we're here. In this explainer, we are going to methodically solve that riddle, piece by piece. We'll start by building a strong foundation, looking at all the ways they're the same, and then we'll start peeling back the layers to find those critical differences. All right, so to really get what sets these two apart, we can't just jump straight into the differences. That'd be like trying to tell twins apart without first realizing they share the same DNA. So first, we've got to explore their family tree and look at the foundation they both share. Let's kick things off by checking out what makes them both part of the same groundbreaking M5 family. Okay, so what you're looking at here is the absolute bedrock for both of these chips. It's called Fusion architecture. Now, to get why this is such a huge deal, I want you to imagine a company with two separate office buildings right across the street from each other. Now, for employees in one building to work with employees in the other, they have to go down the elevator, walk outside, cross the street, and go up the elevator in the other building. It works, sure, but it's slow, it's inefficient. That's kind of how older computer chips worked, with different parts being physically separate. What Apple did with this Fusion architecture is like they bulldozed both buildings and built one massive single skyscraper where everyone is in the same building, connected by super fast elevators. By fusing two chip dies, and a die is just the tiny little square of silicon that does all the work, into one giant seamless brain, data can travel between different parts of the chip almost instantly. This whole fusion thing gives you higher bandwidth, think of that as having wider hallways, and lower latency, which just means less waiting around. This one core idea is the secret sauce that powers both the M5 Pro and the M5 Max. And because they share that same foundation, that same skyscraper design, they have a really striking family resemblance. Let's break this down. First, and this is a big one, they both have the exact same 18-core CPU. Okay, so think of a CPU, the central processing unit, as the chip's general-purpose brain. It does most of the heavy thinking and calculations. And inside that brain are cores. You can picture these cores as a team of 18 individual workers. 6 of them are what Apple calls supercores. These are your specialists, your heavy lifters, built for the most intense jobs, like editing a photo or running a complex calculation. The other 12 are performance cores. These guys are your super efficient workers who handle all the background stuff, like checking your email or playing music, keeping things running smoothly without sucking up all your battery. The key thing here is that both the Pro and the Max have this identical team of 18 workers. Next, they share the same 16-core neural engine. This is a super specialized part of the brain designed only for artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's not for your everyday work. It's for stuff like recognizing your friends in your photos, understanding you when you talk to Siri, or translating languages on the fly. And again, both chips have the exact same one. Finally, they both support the latest, fastest connection standard, Thunderbolt 5. That's just the port on the computer where you plug in things like external monitors or super fast hard drives. Having the newest version means you can move massive files around, like a whole movie, in just a few seconds. So for a huge range of tasks, their fundamental brain power is literally the same. And this slide right here proves that point perfectly. What you're looking at is something called a Geekbench score. Think of Geekbench as a standardized fitness test for a computer's brain, kind of like an IQ test or a 100-meter dash for a chip. This specific test measures single-core performance. Now remember our team of 18 workers? Single-core performance is a test of how fast just one of those heavy lifters' supercores can finish a single task all by itself. This is the kind of speed you can actually feel when you're doing normal things like browsing the web, typing an email, or opening an app, because those tasks usually only need one worker at a time. And as you can see from the chart, the scores are, well, they're basically identical. The M5 Pro gets a 4,240, and the M5 Max gets a 4,298. That's a difference of less than 1.5%. In the real world, for your day-to-day stuff, that difference is completely unnoticeable. In other words, if you had two identical laptops, one with a Pro and one with a Max, and all you were doing was browsing websites or writing a document, you would have absolutely no way of telling them apart. So the huge takeaway from this first part is this. For all that normal, everyday work, for the tasks that make up, 80% of what most of us do on a computer, these chips are basically twins. The performance gap, the real reason for that pretty significant price difference, which can be hundreds or even thousands of dollars, you're not going to find it here. It's hidden much deeper inside the chip, in a part that we haven't even talked about yet. So let's pull back that curtain and find out where the real story is. Okay, now for the main event. If that first section was all about their shared DNA and the ways they're alike, this section is where the two paths split. And I mean split dramatically. This is where the Pro and the Max truly earn their different names and justify their different price tags. Let's dive into the great GPU divide. The enormous power of the M5 Max doesn't come from a faster general brain, a faster CPU. We've already figured out that those are identical. No, its advantage comes from a colossal boost in two very specific areas. The first is raw graphics processing power. This is the part of the chip that's responsible for drawing everything you see on your screen, from your desktop wallpaper all the way to a complex 3D model in a video game. You can think of it as the chip's artistic muscle. The second thing is something called memory bandwidth. This is all about the chip's ability to move gigantic amounts of data around really, really fast. Think of it like the circulatory system for data. And the M5 Max has basically supercharged both its artistic muscle and its data circulatory system. And the numbers on this slide, they tell the whole story. But let's not just glance at the numbers, let's really understand what they mean. You might notice a pretty clear pattern here. First, let's look at Max GPU cores. GPU stands for Graphics Processing Unit. So if the CPU is the general brain, the GPU is the specialized visual arts department. GPU cores are like individual artists in that department, each one painting a piece of the visual puzzle. The M5 Pro has a very respectable 20 artists, but the M5 Max, it has a full-blown art studio with 40 artists, exactly double. Next up, Max Unified Memory. Memory, or RAM, is like the chip's short-term workbench. It's where it holds all the data for the stuff it's working on right now. The unified part just means that both the CPU brainiacs and the GPU artists share the same single workbench, which is way more efficient. The Pro can have a huge 64GB workbench. The Max doubles that to an absolutely enormous 128GB, which lets it handle way bigger and more complex projects all at once. Finally, memory bandwidth. This is the speed that data can be moved to and from that workbench. Think of it as how fast you can get tools and paint to your artists. The M5 Pro is already lightning fast at 307GB per second. The M5 Max, you guessed it, doubles that to a mind-boggling 614GB per second. It's not just a little bit better, it is a complete doubling of power across the board in these really critical, visually focused areas. So what does all that memory bandwidth actually feel like? What does it do? Well, the best way to wrap your head around it is to picture a data superhighway, just like on this slide. The M5 Pro has a very wide multi-lane highway. It's fantastic for most traffic. But the M5 Max has a superhighway that is twice as wide with double the number of lanes. Now, if your daily traffic is just a bunch of small cars, like emails, text documents, and web pages, you will never ever notice the difference. Both highways have more than enough room. But what happens when you start dealing with huge, oversized loads? Imagine trying to move multiple streams of 8K video, or gigantic 3D architectural models, or complex scientific data. That's when you get traffic jams on the smaller highway. The M5 Max's extra-wide highway prevents those data bottlenecks and keeps everything moving at an incredible, seamless speed. It makes sure that all 40 of those GPU artists are never just standing around waiting for their supplies. And this isn't some software trick or a small tweak. This slide shows that the difference is literally baked right into the silicon. The M5 Max has double the amount of specialized graphics hardware. Let's break down these weird acronyms because it's actually pretty simple. On the left, you see Texture Mapping Units, or TMUs. In a 3D game or an animation, think of these as specialized painters on your assembly line. Their only job is to take a flat 2D picture, a texture, like the pattern of wood grain or the look of bricks, and expertly paint it onto the surface of a 3D object to make it look real. The M5 Max has twice as many of these specialist painters. On the right, you see Render Output Units, or ROPs. These guys are like the quality control and finishing department at the very end of the line. After all the 3D objects are built and painted, the ROPs take that final visual data, apply effects to smooth out jagged edges, and get it all ready to be displayed perfectly on your screen. And again, the Max has twice the staff in this critical department. It's not a clever little optimization, it's a pure brute force hardware advantage. So what's the real-world payoff for all this extra hardware? The extra artists, the extra painters, the wider highway? Look at this. This is a score from a different test called Cinebench. While Geekbench tested just one worker on one little task, Cinebench is like a stress test for the entire factory. It measures performance in heavy 3D rendering, a job that pushes every single part of the chip to its absolute limit. It uses all 18 of the CPU workers and all of the GPU artists working together at full tilt to build a complex digital image. The M5 Pro puts up a very impressive score of 24,386, but the M5 Max? It hits a massive 32,572. That is a nearly 34% jump in performance. This huge gap is the direct, measurable result of all that extra GPU hardware, those extra artists and painters, and that ultra-wide memory superhighway we were just talking about. This right here is where the M5 Max truly earns its name and its much higher price tag. Okay, so we've established the techie stuff. Identical brains for everyday things, but a massively more powerful visual arts department in the M5 Max. But what does this actually mean for real people doing real work day in and day out? Numbers on a chart are one thing, but how does this translate to your workflow? Let's move from the what to the who. It's time to dive into a tale of two users to figure out which one of these powerful chips is actually built for you. First up, let's meet the M5 Pro user. Now, this is not a casual user just browsing Facebook. This is a true professional who needs a total powerhouse for complex, logic-based work that relies heavily on the CPU, that main brain with its team of 18 workers. For example, think of a data scientist. Their job is to run complicated mathematical models on huge sets of data to find patterns. This is pure calculation and logic. A perfect job for that 18-core CPU. The GPU's artistic talent isn't really needed here. Or how about a sound designer or a music producer working with hundreds of audio tracks, each with its own effects? Audio processing is, at its heart, a mathematical task. Again, a job that leans heavily on the CPU. And finally, think about a programmer compiling a massive app. Compiling is just translating human-readable code into machine code, and that task relies almost exclusively on the CPU's logical power. For all these people, that 18-core CPU is the hero. The M5 Pro delivers that hero-level performance perfectly, without the extra cost of the Max's superpowered GPU, which for them would pretty much just sit there unused. It would be a total waste of money. Then we have the M5 Max user. This professional's work isn't just complex, it is visually and data-intensive to an absolutely extreme degree. Their bottlenecks are all visual, and they need every ounce of help they can get from the GPU and that data highway. Let's start with a 3D animator rendering a photorealistic scene for a movie. The act of rendering is literally creating the final image from all the 3D data, the lights, the textures. This is a job that falls almost entirely on the GPU, our arts department. More artists means the final image gets created way, way faster. Next, an AI researcher training a large language model right on their laptop. Training these models involves doing millions of simple calculations all at the same time, a job that GPUs, with their army of simple cores, are just exponentially better at than CPUs. Finally, picture a VFX artist in Hollywood layering dozens of streams of 4K or 8K video to create a special effect for a blockbuster film. Their biggest challenge is just moving all that visual data around without the computer stuttering or crashing. This is a job for our data superhighway, the memory bandwidth. For these users, the M5 Max isn't some luxury, it's an absolute necessity to get their work done on time. So we've explored the shared DNA, we've seen the great GPU divide, and we've met the two types of professional users. Now it's time to bring it all home to you. How do you decide where you fit in this picture? Let's wrap this all up with a simple, practical framework to help you make your own informed choice, so you can be confident you're getting the exact right tool for the job. First things first, let's just reframe this whole question. Your goal when you're spending thousands of dollars on a professional machine shouldn't be to just buy the best or most powerful chip available. That's a trap, and it leads to you overspending on power you might never actually use. The truly smart choice is about precision. It's about matching the tool perfectly to the work you do every single day. It's making sure every dollar you spend is a direct investment in your own productivity. It's about buying the right tool, not just the biggest one. So, here it is. It all comes down to asking yourself these two simple, honest questions. Let's look at the first one. Does my daily work heavily involve tasks like 3D rendering, complex visual effects, high-res video editing with tons of layers, or training AI models on my machine? The key word here is heavily. I'm not talking about occasionally trimming a short video for social media or messing around in a 3D program once a month. This question is about the core of your professional work, the thing you do for hours every single day. If your honest answer is no, your decision is already made. The M5 Pro is your chip. It will be more than powerful enough. But if your answer is yes, then you move to the second, crucial question. Is the speed of those specific GPU-heavy tasks directly critical to my income or my ability to hit project deadlines? In other words, if you could finish a 3D render in 40 minutes instead of 60 minutes, does that let you take on more clients and earn more money? Does it mean you can hit a tight deadline for a film project that you would otherwise miss? If you can honestly answer a strong yes to both of these questions, then the M5 Max was built from the ground up specifically for you. The extra cost will absolutely pay for itself in time saved and money earned. But if you answer no to either of these questions, then the M5 Pro is, without a doubt, the incredibly powerful and more cost-effective tool for your job. Because at the end of the day, as we've seen today, this choice isn't just about picking the fastest chip on a spreadsheet. It's about choosing the right tool for your specific ambition. It's about empowering your unique workflow, not just buying the biggest number you see. So let's just do a quick recap of what we've learned. The M5 Pro and M5 Max share an identical, powerful brain, their 18-core CPU, which makes them perform almost exactly the same for everyday tasks and for CPU-heavy professional work like coding, data science, or music production. The real difference, the great divide, is all about graphics and data handling. The M5 Max doubles the GPU cores, our artist. It doubles the potential memory, our workbench, and it doubles the memory bandwidth, our data superhighway. This makes it a highly specialized instrument for professionals whose work is intensely visual and data-heavy, like 3D artists, VFX editors, and AI researchers. The right choice for you comes down to honestly looking at your daily workflow. If your work lives and dies by GPU speed, the Max is your investment. For pretty much everyone else, the M5 Pro offers incredible, top-tier performance that will handle even the most demanding professional jobs with plenty of power to spare. Choose the tool that fits your work, and you'll know you made the right decision.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to the latest update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end, and see you in the next video.